these three is root of all evils. Mine means that sense of ownership. Uh, you see, these three are interrelated. So uh, I told you that if you can, uh, and this thing in a subtler way is related with your ego.
Yeah.
So giving up passions for desires means that you give up your ego, because this once you have this sense of ownership, it generates fear, it generates grief, it generates anger, anger generates delusion. So all these are chain reaction.
Yeah, I mean, in this country, for instance, I mean, literally, the place where I live 40 years ago was a rice paddy. There was nothing here. There were cows, rice, and now they got these huge buildings, has all these ultra modern highways, subways, airports, you name it. And so they went literally from being half-starved societies to now really living in some ways even beyond anything we see in North America, because their railroads, their roads, their systems of healthcare and so on, or education, are more advanced than ours. And so that jump had huge consequences for them, because part of it is that they were forced to leave behind a number of sources of connectedness, like you said, to embrace what it is now, the future. And so the young people don't have any anchors like their grandparents had or their parents had. And they have to respond to both sets of expectations. What is historical, what is the collective, and now what is the individual, what is expected of them. What's their place in this new world? And so they're facing a crisis that we didn't, at least people my age didn't. And I'm not sure, to be honest, that they have the tools to face it with.
What if you turn hardship into greatness, anger into serenity? Everything changes. Make your life a masterpiece. Amazing, everyone. Okay, live here. The very first live stream, absolutely outstanding, with Dr. Moazzem Hossain, who is a thought leader in whatever he does. He has an incredible history, really, experience in government, specifically military, but he also has an MBA from the United States of America. He also published a book, which is essential because to some extent we can find empirical evidence why potentially Alexander the Great stopped his further discovery into then India and so on and so forth further east, because they digged out sites that were incredible, that showed incredible strength. So maybe you can a little bit elaborate on what you were actually discovering in Bangladesh. This was based also on your PhD, right, that you did. So you really have a multidisciplinary approach really to life, to government, to basically everything. And therefore I think it's extremely important that you are the lead in harmony in diversity, because that's what we ultimately want to foster, is harmony in diversity in thought, diversity in people, culture, religions, and so on and so forth, because I can only define who I am because of Dr. Hossain, for example. In other words, it's a reciprocity that really happens, that really lifts us up in our humanity, right? And so therefore, everyone who is now listening, really welcome Dr. Moazzem Hossain to the show, who is also the chair of Harmony in Diversity. And it's really exciting because our goal really is not just over the next few months or few years, but really the next 2, 3, 4 decades to work together and keep improving the program in order to make an incredible difference for individuals, but also to society as a whole. So, with this and without further ado, I will really set first and foremost really the topic of today. And the topic is really interesting because it's one thing thinking about harmony in diversity, but it's also another thing to think actually harmony within yourself. And we have to first make our analysis based on first principles on which a society is built, and that is always the individual. In other words, how to foster, cultivate harmony within. So first and foremost, really, Dr. Hossain, I just want you to elaborate a little bit what you actually mean by harmony. Let's define the term harmony in terms of the individual, and then we can go down or up the ladder.
Okay. Today, as you planned, that we will discuss harmony at individual level. Okay. So, the harmony, that means you are at ease with your surroundings, and you are at peace. And remember, harmony is not passive. This is also active. So, for to be in harmony, whatever you do, this is just nothing but the interplay of energies. So, I plan to discuss this matters that what are the factors that affects the harmony harmony in general, and more specific to the today I'll talk about individual level as you uh, told me. So at individual level, if you want to know the harmony, it is me. So you need to know this machine first, that how it works. Until unless you know this, then you will not be able to handle it. So this is the fastest step to achieve harmony at individual level. And you know that this machine, it is nothing but a mini cosmos. Okay. Uh, there are 5 elements in the universe or the cosmic force. You know that 72% is water, 12% is earth, 6% is air, 4% is fire, and 6% is another one that is called Akash. It is uh, a space, but it is not ether. It is more subtler than the ether. Okay. So these 5 elements exactly with the same proportion our universe is composed. So you this individual as individual you this one is a mini cosmos. Here why it is important, because until unless all these 5 elements they are in harmony with uh, your insight, you will not be able to achieve harmony in food. So but there are these 5 elements, they are in perfectly balanced in the in cosmic force, and same is to Eve also. So there are some disruption, and you need to know how to clean all these 5 elements, and there are techniques. And once you know this, uh, once you acquire this knowledge that these 5 elements will uh, take order from you, only then you will be able to achieve harmony and balance. So there are different practices about this. Let me not discuss all this, because if I want to discuss all this, it will be more long. Okay, so we can discuss this it later. But in layman language, I just tell you how to clean all these elements. The 72% water. Okay, now you see. basically our body is a water body. So you need to, there are specific ways how to clean this water. If you talk about me, I take sun charged water. Okay. This is one way, or you take the clean water, and water has a memory, and this is a very important aspect to be in harmony. Then, regarding earth, you need to touch the earth. You need to walk barefooted, maybe minimum 5 to 10 minutes. And air, if there is a clean air, I think in Western country you do not have these difficulties, but there are ways to clean the air. Some breathing exercise, uh, you can clean it. And fire, if you work in the sunlight, mm, that is the best way. But if there is no sunlight, then you can burn any candlelight or any light, and you can be there for a few minutes. And regarding Akash, you need to look at the sky 3 times in a day. Uh, yeah, morning when sun is rising. So when it is at 45 degree, 35 to 45 degree angle, you must look at the sun. Then in that when that when it is midday, that is 1200 hours, you will have to look at the sky. And also before after sunset, within 45 minutes, you need to look at the horizon where it sets. Uh, uh, if you do this little practice, it will align you with your system and also purify all these elements. But there are more elaborate practice. Let me not discuss all these points here now. If anyone is interested, I can go for interactive session with him.
That
So,
is excellent. That is excellent. So now, so let's just cut this a little bit, in a tangible way, because sometimes people like, okay, water, fire and all those kind of things. And as you just mentioned, right? So one thing that is really clear is that it is active. In other words, we incorporate all these elements and we have to bring it to the very fore. And in doing so, we have to be active. In other words, one of the things that you also do, you're active, you're always walking, you're playing golf, right? That is important because it's in alignment with the energy, with the cosmos, because everything is energy. In other words, movement creates ultimately energy. And that's where the word emotion comes from. Emotion comes from the word motion. So we have to be active, right? And so just as an analogy of water and the importance of memory, that water actually has a memory, is simply this. I always tell people, look at the waterfall and how poor the water is if it's in movement. But think about if water stands somewhere for months, it gets dirty, right? The same is with us, right? Therefore, movement, constantly exercising in one way or another, is crucial in order to make sure to keep the balance between our psyche and also our body. Because, as Ellen Langer, for example, says, for her, the mind and body is one. Whatever thought you have, it affects your physiology. Whatever movement you do affects your brain. In other words, it's a whole system. And so this just quickly to put it in different words, if it is okay, and I hope it's not distracting, but just I think it's always helpful that we reiterate certain concepts, and so that is really important. So please keep going now and really talk about, because I'm curious and it's also important for our viewers, how you embark on this path of transformation. You're extremely successful. So therefore, I want to know, I want a little bit get onto your head what you did, how you grew up, and how this influenced what you became ultimately today. Because ultimately, your life right now is the culmination of millions and millions of decisions, right? So please walk us through, first and foremost, to your childhood and what you think were the most important elements that shaped you as a person, as becoming like this extraordinary leader that you are today.
uh, Before that, you told about active. It is, I tell this as that you always should be alive. Okay, that means you must not be dead. You, if you are alive always, then you will be also active. And listen, Mr. Yannick, you keep this question reserved for you because let me allow to just sum up the next 4 or 5 points in gist. Then I will give you uh, the sequence of for 24 hours cycle. There we can discuss all this because these are interrelated. First, I talked about 5 elements. Then there is another. There is a second step, very important, that is food, because the food you take, you will behave in that manner. So, but this is another most important aspect to achieve the harmony. Uh, and because it influence food, the food you take, it influences your behavior and also your character. There are three types of food according to our ancient wisdom. One is called sattvic, another is called rajasic, another is tamasic. Just plain and simple, sattvic is the positive pranic food that it has got positive energy, and rajasic, it is also negative, but tamasic is total negative. So, in general, if I talk about these three kinds of food, it is said that the food that grows above the ground, those are uh, generally good for eating. Okay, but those which generally grows beneath the earth, those are having the those are tamasic, or they have the negative qualities. So those there are I can list down the specific foods, but one thing, these three qualities is also related with three human qualities. If you talk about sattvic, this is the quality of goodness. Okay, and if you talk about Rajashik, this is the quality of passion. And passion for luxury or anything that is not good. And if you talk about this Tamashik, that is absolutely ignorance. So, could I make myself clear how food is attached with yourself? Because uh, there are these three types of food you take. If you take, you will behave in the same manner. So now, first of all, another thing, just uh, which food you should take, cooked or uncooked food. Just try for this. If you take cooked food, uh, there is a general rule that if you cook a food, and you must consume it within half an hour to 1.5 hours. But in Western country, once you cook and you take it, I think just store it in the freeze and just warm it and take it. Why it is forbidden? You can taste it. Now you have cooked the food, and after taking the once you are cooking the food, it destroys the enzyme. Okay, so food it doesn't have a full quality of it. So after you take lunch of this cooked food, you will find that you're feeling sleepy because you grow letharginess. So this food is not live food. That's why uh, uh, once you take this, that's why it is suggested that you take live food. Now, uh, you know, what was our natural selection as a humankind? Before we invent the tools or fire, natural selection was plants, leaves, and also fruit. So, if you take the fruit, that fruits, that is our natural selection, and fruits remains your body only 4 hours. It is digested, and plants and vegetable, it remains 12 to 13 hours. And but these if you take the meat, it remains in your belly 72 hours. Remember, Once it is remaining in your body 72 hours, then there are a lot of bacteria and it generates a lot of disease. And remember one thing: if you know that you will be killed, and you will have a lot of restlessness. And these animals, they come to know before 24 hours that they're going to be slaughtered. So once there is a restlessness, then there is a lot of acidity in the body, then your cells are becoming deformed. So you are taking these deformed cells in you. Now scientists and medical scientists, they are telling that within a second, there are trillions of cells inside you. They're creating and recreating. And each cell has the same feelings like you. So once you're taking this cell of this cow or any uh, animal meat, uh, you are not you are taking these cells which is acidic. So if you it will also imbalance your system. If, it is also bulwark for your achieving harmony. And more generally, you see the people who takes meat, they become more restless. And the another thing, this GM crop. GM crop is also the same thing. They've changed the cell. Okay. Um, Once they sorry. So is it okay?
Yeah, I mean, now I see you twice. I
Oh,
don't know why, but it's okay. We can just. Now it's perfect. Very good. All good.
okay now.
Okay, let's continue with GM crops, right? You just
Yeah,
said
yeah, yeah.
that we
Just
it's basically modifying
yeah, yeah.
organism, right? We inject
But
a virus, right?
yeah, yeah. This is very much important because nowadays you will find there are a lot of disease just because of eating of this genetically modified food, because it changes the cell. So those are not natural cell. The organic crop, organic food, they have 60% more protein than or food value than this GM crop, but their size is small. That's why people do not take it. But you must be knowing that now, when this GM crop these are being produced, there is a bug, and there is a super bug, and you cannot kill that. And if you are habituated with this GM crop or GM genetically modified food, it is going to disturb your system, and it has got tremendous impact on your whole physiology and mind and body. So try to avoid this GM crop or genetically modified food. It's better that you take, these raw vegetable, or there is a people are talking about rainbow diet. Okay, rainbow diet means why it comes, how it comes. All we take the sun energy. Sun is the source of creation. So we are taking the sun energy from secondary sources. So there are basically we are taking the seven spectrum of sunlight. Those are VG or violet, indigo, green, all these seven colors. And these seven colors is also related with the seven power centers of your body. So now people, those who all do the sun gazing, or they know this technique, they are taking these seven spectrum or uh, 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 from the sun directly without any pollution. And to supplement this, now people are taking this secondary source, that is rainbow diet. They take once you have the food, you have 7 color of food. So it nourishes you very nicely, and it also energizes all these 7 power centers of you, and brings energize and also bring harmony. People wants to take meat. They are thinking that without meat, probably they will not gain energy. But Bruce Lee, the martial art legend, he was the pure vegetarian, not he used to take all raw food, fruits only. You see, uh, he had the good muscle also, and he had the if you take this vegetable, raw vegetable or fruits, you have more flexibility in you, and you will be. I can tell you that you will align your body with nature or also cosmic force, and your mind body will be aligned, and you will be in harmony with everything. So another thing, just that food is a obsession. Okay, but you see, always you take more amount of food. You can count it. So normally, one-time meal is better if you can practice that. If not one time, then twice meal you can take. But in between these two meal, there should be 6 to 8 hours gap. Now there are a lot of scientists these that they are talking about these things, but our people have said uh, thousands of years ago that uh, because the 6 to 8 hours gap, that if you do not take anything in water or anything, this 6 or 8 hours, minimum 6 hours, then your cancer cells in your body will die. Okay. So that's why it's better that in between meal you don't eat or drink anything. Uh, uh, you know
And
what?
that's where, just to clarify, that's basically where intermittent fasting comes into the equation, right?
Uh,
So it's now very fashionable that people, let's say they eat, and I actually do the same thing. I eat for lunch and then I eat for dinner. So it's about between 6-7 hours, and then I don't eat until from 7 p.m. to noon. So this means that I fast 17 hours. So do you think that's healthy? I only drink water.
but this is now a fashion, that intermittent fasting. But fasting practice is embedded in all the cultures. Okay, of all the religion, all the cultures.
Breakfast means you break the fast,
Yeah,
right? I mean, that's
but
the point.
it was uh, initiated by Egyptians. Okay, they started fasting 1.5 months. Just it was nothing but cleansing the body. So they used to take less amount of food, and there are various types of fasting. Someone fasts for 24 hours. Someone from they eat before sunrise, then they breakfast after sunset. Someone even goes for fruit fasting. Someone water fasting. There are various types of fasting, but you need to have the practice of whatever you do. If you take the right kind of food, and it is a matter of practice, that it should be if you once you take the breakfast, then after 8 hours, in between this time you must not take anything. But in our practical life, this is very difficult, because a lot of people, they want to justify you that this. But what I do, since it is not possible during daytime, so before sleep, maybe in our culture, we need to go to the bed a bit late. So from night 10 to morning 8, I do not eat or drink anything, because this is the time when none is going to offer food, or if I do not take, they will not get angry. So this is nothing but adjusting with the reality. So
Absolutely. So I
It-
just want to quickly jump into that because that's a very important point in terms of letting the body clean itself again. And I give you an analogy, and I want you to know if this is a good one. Think about it like a kitchen, right? So if you cook and eat, you have to clean up your kitchen afterward. So imagine you always leave all your stuff there, your dishes. At some point you can't even walk into your house because it's just stable, right? And that's what we have to do also with our bodies. We have to give it the time so it can clean up again the house, right? So we leave around room for itself to clean. So that's, I think that's why it is important. And secondly, I just want to mention that it's very important too for people who are listening to really also observe their chemical reaction that they have when they actually eat, and really monitor how they are feeling, because I treat my body like a laboratory. I can really tell whatever I eat, my energy level and so on and so forth. And therefore, for example, with intermittent fasting, I can really function so effectively and also so long. That's because I don't eat. For example, I don't have breakfast, but that's only because I have a job which is not too physical, right? So I can afford it. So it all depends equally with meat. I give you an example. 10 years ago, I started going vegetarian completely, okay? But I was keep doing exercising, okay? In the gym and stuff. And all of a sudden, I never had problems. All of a sudden, I got the migraines, okay? Crazy migraines. Crazy. Never happened to me before. So I realized by reflecting, okay, there's something missing in my body, therefore, that causes me having migraines. Sometimes it happened while I was doing the workout, crazy. And so I started again having meat, implementing a more complex and more diversified diet, especially also with whole meat, but also whole vegetable, just whole food, obviously. And so that completely reversed, and I didn't have any problem with migraine in my life whatsoever anymore. But it was serious. So it's really, and it also depends, of course, in terms of culture where you grew up, right? For example, India has a very different climate than, for example, Switzerland. Switzerland has a very different climate in comparison to the Arctic, and so on and so forth. So this also plays into the equation. Therefore, we see, for example, also the Inuit, they eat a lot of raw meat, right? They hunt the geese and all those kind of things because it's just adjusted to their kind of life and what's really available. And again, it comes back to real meat, to real food, as you were mentioning, right? That absorb the sunlight, that absorb the energy that it's necessary for us to get the energy out of it, right?
you know, this food is very important. In all cultures, uh, they respect food. So before taking food, uh, I've seen my predecessors also in different culture. They just pay respect to the food and they transfer their thought to the food so that it doesn't harm me. It is such important that I'm now in Bangladesh. I might take even a fruit from South Africa or avocado from America or Canada or any other country. You see, a fruit or a plant is growing in the jungle of Africa or Africa, and it is coming to Bangladesh and it is becoming part of me. So you see, that's why, and food is live, and everything inanimate, animate object, they can respond. So I've seen and almost do at least pay some respect or reverence or pass your thoughts to the food that please you are nourishing me, and also I'm thankful for that, and also nourish me nicely. And this is very much important that you are transmitting your thought. Another one I told you earlier that food is an obsession. We take too much amount of food and we also spoil that. And this is a general rules. I'm telling it is in all the cultures, all the religions, and all these concept of modern concept. Modern concept, these are nothing new. They have adopted from earlier. So take 80% food and keep always 20% of your belly empty. If you can do this, you will not have lot of disease, or you will not feel good for anything. And regarding that, you talked about there are certain areas where there is no vegetable, no fruits, and only meat. So nothing doing. Uh, you will have to take the meat. But whatever I have told you, I have told you in general. Yeah, but there is a difference. I have seen sometimes I was in Hawaii for 6 weeks, and we had to cook everything. So initially, I didn't cook. I just purchased this raw food, and you know, your culture and culture of this is Western East. There is a difference also, because we have people to work for us, and there you do everything. That is also good, because once you do everything by yourself, so you can also tailor your things. But you get all the good foods in Western country. Because in 2000, when I traveled Europe, America, there I have seen this, this beetroot juice. First time I found there. Now it is common in our country. So you have lot of fruits. Those are not available. In fact, it is everywhere. Uh, wherever a humankind is living, if you uh, give a radius of 360-degree one day walk, there all plants and everything is there to nourish him. So if you talk about waste, whatever I told about food, that is there. Just you need to know, and you need to open up. I can tell you that in Western country, uh, you have better opportunities to be with this. I'm not talking about vegetarian. Vegetarian uh, is, you can become food vegetarian, and instead of meat, you can take pulse. Um, that will also give you, this protein. So anything human protein, anything animal protein is not good, because once you are taking a cow or any animal, if it has got disease, you are also taking that disease inside you. So that's why I'm I tell people that try to avoid the meat. But if anybody wants to take it, they can take it. There is nothing harm in it. But if knowing all these things, that uh, it remains 72 hours in your body and in your belly, generating lot of bacteria and disease. Even after that, if you want to take, there is no harm in it. So,
Just quickly, I just want to quickly pick up what you have said in order to really accelerate the individual harmony of a person, because you said you have to be grateful for whatever food you get, and you have to project this meaning actually on the food and the positive impact it has on your body. In other words, everything is up to us. It's up to us if it's good or not. We determine it by our thoughts. If we look at food as something that is life giving, as the ancient Greeks also, it was medicine. Food was equal to medicine, right? And it should never have actually separated, because that's what it really is, right? And so once you eat something and you truly mean it, that the meaning of this food, whatever you eat, is life giving, makes you happier, makes you healthier, you change as well the biochemistry actually within your body. you influence, you create your reality to some extent, because that's also what we figured out with quantum physics, right? There is no reality outside there. There's always the mediator, and that's you in between, that gives the interpretation. And the interpretation is always energy, obviously, because energy can't be created nor can it be destroyed, but it can be transformed in one way or another. So there is the good or the bad. You can make the good something bad or the bad something good. So therefore also it's very important for everyone who is listening is that the meaning that you give will ultimately determine your life, because you have three, I think, fundamental choices in life. What you focus on. Do you focus on really the negative in life, or do you focus on the positive, on the opportunity? Secondly, do you what meaning do you give to something? Do you give it a meaning that is positive, that will lift you up, or it tears you down? And lastly, thirdly, it's about what you do about it. Again, and it comes down to taking action proactively. And that includes your whole body, your whole soul, mind, and heart. Okay, so this just quickly, and as an aside too, I also want to mention, as you also said brilliantly, that all these ideas have always existed. So one thing is also important for us, that we are grateful for all the people who came before us, for these 10,000 of years of human history, because ultimately, and I truly believe that, ultimately it's the collective unconscious that we tap into it. In other words, these knowledge have always been here because they have been created by our predecessors, okay? Which means it's up to us to tap into this field. Actually, there is the Mouth Herd Institute in California. They were able scientifically prove that there is something beyond our mind. In other words, they gave people, they showed pictures, positive or negative pictures, and they were able scientifically to demonstrate that there is something beyond just our perception. In other words, people, the heart sent signals to the brain before they actually saw the picture. And there were always a different signal, obviously, when it was either a positive or a negative picture. So sometimes they would show terrible picture with an accident, and then they would show like a beautiful field of flowers, and they could actually demonstrate it. I will also send you actually the paper on that. In other words, they demonstrate there's something in a field, and Young called it the the collective unconscious, right? And so that's also very important, I think, just to realize, hey, everything there is has been somehow created, and it's up to us to tap into this gift, into the knowledge, into the wisdom of humanity. And therefore, it's so important to create first and foremost harmony within yourself before you attempt to create harmony on people. Okay, so please go on. Let me know.
So, just 2 points regarding this. Socrates said knowledge is cyclic. Okay, so it will come. You'll see that now a lot of big structure is coming beneath the earth, and given with the technological advancement of now, it is nearly impossible to build all those. So knowledge is cyclic. There is no doubt about this. And another point you said, oh, that is very important, because nowadays what we do, while taking food, we use cell phone, we watch movie. This has to be avoided, because this is some way you are, you are not attentive to while taking food. Okay, so when you take food, you must be attentive, and if you do not watch movie or uh, accept call, what is the harm? Because if you do that, then you will not have alignment with your food and everything. Then now, just few other points, the
And just quickly to say that this is precisely basically what meditation or mindfulness is.
yeah.
It is actively noticing new things. In other words, you have to be present. When you eat, you have to just to smell, to taste it, everything. So that will makes you connected. And this really what it means having focus, because we know now scientific studies, Harvard Business School, they were able to demonstrate that progress equals happiness. In other words, in order to progress in your life, in whatever area it is, you need to have focus, because then you see the progress, right? And it will also enact in you chemical reactions, such as it will higher up your dopamine, your endorphins, that the happier or luck um, chemicals, and also it will lower your cortisol, your stress hormone. So it has tangible impacts on you and your physiology, because it's all about being able to forge a yin yang, right, relationship between your body, your mind, everything, because we consist of systems and subsystems in basically an infinite number.
The next, the barrier for individual harmony, another important point is that is violence in thought and action. This is very serious because I learned it through my life learning. I knew this thing that people used to tell us, crush your ego, but I learned it after long time from my own experience. I was reading a book there, mm, APJ Abdul Kalam, he late president,
Yeah.
the scientist. He went to visit Arunachal Pradesh. There is a Tuareg village where through there is a monastery, and Dalai Lama, when he fled from Tibet, he stayed in this monastery also. So he once he was visiting that place, his PS, Mr. Orun Tiwari, he noticed that people are so, they are just uh, charging up. They are laughing, they are playing, and they are just emitting the lights to him. So he asked President to watch this because he is seeing this phenomenon. Then he also watched, and he found that these people are really, because they are those people are poor, uh, uh, they are having shortage of food. Out of all this poverty, how they are so alive and so playful, that really perplexed him. So he asked this monastery head, the Bhante, that this is the strange phenomenon I have observed. uh, then that Bhante said to him, President Shahab, you are the president of this country, you must be knowing all this. Then he said that, in this monastery, I just tell verbatim whatever he said, that in this monastery, we believe that when we remove I and me from the mind, he will remove ego. Hatred towards fellow human beings will vanish. The violence in thinkings and action will disappear. If violence in mind and thought is taken away, then peace springs in the human mind. Now, let me explain you in layman language. As I told you that violence in thought and action, it harms you physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. It destroys your energy and also your inner system. So that leads to the uh, disharmony. And you see that suppose someone has picked up some quarrel with you, he has boxed you, or you have given him a box. After sometimes he'll forget it. But you know that if you cannot take the revenge, and sometimes even if, when you are taking shower, you are thinking that my boss has done this bad thing with me. I should have uh, killed him. I should have boxed him. I should have done this thing. That means you are doing all these violence in your thought, not in action. So, in your thought, rather now you are disturbing totally your system and it is harming you. But if I am angry to Mr. Yannick and I am just doing all these, playing all this drama in me, but nothing is happening to Mr. Yannick. But everything is happening to me, and I am harming myself, and I am remaining in constant in disharmony and pain. So, but this point is uh, very much important that you can see, these men, humankind, they have this violence inbuilt in them because it is difficult to control this, but it is if you practice it, uh, then it is not that difficult. Even if someone has uttered slightest bad words to you, you will see that you are remembering it after 10 years that Mr. X has told me this thing. So I will tell you how to, prevent all this thinking, violence of thought and action in at the last. Now, in short, I'm just attachment, anger, fear. These all these three are interrelated. Attachment brings grief and anxiety. Attachment means that you want this. So if you do not get it, so to get it, you have you will try this, that, and you will have a lot of anxiety. And if you do not get it, you will have grief. So you know that if you can give up the attachment, then attachment means that whatever you do. Don't uh, longer for the fruit of your action. Whatever you are doing, you do the best. You will see that you will get the best fruit. Now, if you have you know, uh, if you have the desire for passion, that is very bad thing. Okay, so now you see that attachment brings grief, anxiety, and this it also brings this desire for passion, and the desire for passion is not it will not allow you to remain at peace, and that will also generate anger. Anger is a poison of mind. It destroys your whole system, and also these three are interrelated, and the attachment also brings fear. So you need to know, you need to be free from all desires of passion and uh, passion, and we are very much, uh, look for the pleasure. So if you can curb all these things, then you will see that you will not have any fear, anger. You will remain in peace and tranquil and achieve uh, harmony. And you see that people insult you, they offense you. Uh, I'll tell you later on how to do that. If people, if they want to insult you, or if you become envious to others, uh, all these are uh, uh, all these are coming from this attachment, anger and fear. These three are interrelated. So you need to shun all these things: anger, uh, uh, attachment. You must give up all these attachment. Then also anger. If you know that these are harming you, then as a conscious being, it doesn't need that much practice to control all this. So,
Now, just quickly, again, we are coming basically back on what we are paying attention to, right? When attachment, for example, is very problematic, especially when it is attachment to negative things, right? Or to people, or the attachment to our opinion that we try to enforce on other people, right? Because this means that we are not free. Everything depends on the outward world, and we can only influence the outward world. We can never ever control it. So that's where really this attachment comes from, is the recognition that you can only influence first, control your reaction towards the outward world, and you can never ever control it. You can influence it, of course, but you can never ever
Yeah,
control it.
you are right. In fact, these three words, I, me, and mine, these three is root of all evils. Mine means that sense of ownership. Uh, you see, these three are interrelated. So uh, I told you that if you can, uh, and this thing in a subtler way is related with your ego.
Yeah.
So giving up passions for desires means that you give up your ego, because this once you have this sense of ownership, it generates fear, it generates grief, it generates anger, anger generates delusion. So all these are chain reaction. So that's why it doesn't mean that it is passive. Definitely, you will work for your good, and you will. You don't wait for the fruit. If you work, definitely it will automatically come to you. Now, another disease.
I just quickly come back, and there again, there is something very deep in the good and the bad, because the good has equally as much bad things as the bad thing has good things, because I want to come back in terms of the ego, okay? And I actually think egocentrism actually is actually healthy for the individual to actually develop, and that's Carl Jung. Carl Jung, who said this: sometimes egocentrism takes over an individual, okay? Becomes completely observed by himself and his goals and whatever, and ultimately he will annihilate, push away all his people, okay, that actually wanted to get the best, but he refuses, he puts all away. But the very fact that he does this, that ultimately he faces the dark night of his soul basically, and ultimately realizes, wow, everything that is precious I pushed away. This very egocentrism ultimately allows the individual to ultimately change. And I think that's what's missing oftentimes, is that first, to really go through these stages of development, we actually have to, and you see this all the time, when let's say you get crushed for whatever reason, you get a depression or whatever. Ultimately, that's what sets you ultimately free, and what helps you truly to again to see and to realize all the good that you actually had in your life. So this is true. You have to lose your ego, but it's absolutely essential actually to first actually experience it, and to experience actually the negative, because you can only see and experience the good once you know the bad. In other words, darkness is only quantifiable with light, and light is only quantifiable by darkness. So, therefore, there's this constant back and forth, and that's really what the process of life is. And so, I just wanted to know your take on that, because sometimes we lose ourselves in the sense that we somehow, because that's not what you mean, but to somehow lose our whatever. But we also have to recognize, in order to truly lose ourselves, is to find ourselves, right, ultimately. But it's dialectic, right? It's needed in order for the other to give birth, and it goes back and forth, right? And we have to be able and start seeing it as actually a force, a positive force. It's like riding a wave, right? You have to balance it constantly in order to remain on it, and actually to really take in the beauty of life and the spirit that it entails. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, but that is there. But regarding another 2 points, I forgot to tell you that adjustment and anger, fear. as I told you, these are interconnected, and these are also these all these generates another two artificial things, that is pain and sorrow. We believe it, and I believe that pain and there is no pain and sorrow. Pain and sorrow is our own creation. I told you, if you at the onlooker of the nature, you will see there is no pain and sorrow in the nature. So something contrasting with natural order, that is not real. So this attachment, anger, fear, pain, and sorrow. This thing, it is happening to you because you and me do not have the clarity of perception. So I will tell you after one or two points that how to build rock solid inner core and create shield around you. Uh, because you see that, okay, once I'm talking about pain and sorrow as a conscious human being, you see, right at this moment, more than half of the population of this world is either half fed or unfed. And you and me have the liberty to choose that whether I will take this food, I'll gain weight, I'll not take this food. So, but don't you think that you are a blessed person? So that's why, just connecting with your question, uh, you need to be you need to have the clarity and also ration. Once you have food and shelter, you must not worry for anything. You must live every second of your time playfully, mindfully, enjoying every bit of it. Until unless somebody is killing you, or if you if you do not have that type of situation, and for that also you need to protection. But you see, more than half of the population cannot afford to take food, and you have food and you have shelter. Then why you will have all these anger, attachment, fear, and pain and sorrow? So these are artificial thing and created by ourselves because we do not know our system, we do not know the reality, we do not have clarity of perception. If you have these, if you can have, I told you earlier that all these five elements, and if you are in uh, in connection with natural order, or if you are in aligning with the cosmic forces and having the uh, minimum clarity, then you will see that lot of things will automatically go away. Okay.
I fully agree with you, but we also have to recognize that there is also the evolutionary history that's within, right? The genetic, the memory, as you call it, right? And so for us humans, we always put the goalpost further. Why? Because we are able to project into the future. In other words, we always have still the fight, freeze, or flight mode, right? That in case there's no food in the future, therefore we make sure that we get as much as possible in the now, right? And so to some extent, this also helps actually to really further develop like the culture and also in terms of science and technology, because we constantly improve, right, our way of being. And of course there's always a risk that we neglect, let's say, the conscious or the unconscious, right, in Jungian terms, right? Because if you focus too much on the conscious, on what is here in front of us, let's say science, we neglect the spiritual part. In other words, our other part of us, that's the unconscious, right? That's the spirit that also needs nourishment. So yes, but we have to also recognize that it's not easy, but every mechanism has its advantage and disadvantage. What's really up to us, it's to bring those two, again, as you just alluded to, bring in harmony with one another.
You know, if you again look to the nature, you see the animals. They just eat one meal. They don't care about the next meal. But it is only we humans. We preserve things. We hoard things. So, as a conscious human being, also, you must also eat. Whenever you are eating, don't think about the next one. Automatically, it will come. You can try for it. Okay, and definitely we have, but we must not be too much conscious about it. Okay, but that's why I tell people that look for everything and every solution in the nature. Natural order, if you can follow, you don't need any teacher. Okay, you can become your own teacher. Then quickly I tell about another point, which is also barrier for harmony. That is loneliness. We all suffer from loneliness. Okay, if you need company, then you are not aligning with the cosmic force, or you are dependent on somebody. Why you will be depending on somebody? As a conscious human being, if this is my point, that I should I should not I should I must conduct my life alone, and in reality you are not alone. You know, we we are the one of the species out of billions of species. If you feel loneliness, just go to the nature or go out of your room. You will find that there are a lot of species, birds, insects, these, that. You will find a lot of company. You just taste it. Today, you are feeling that you are very alone. You do not have company. Just go to the forest, go to the nature. You will see each and every moment. You will find company. In microsecond, you will find company. You will find definitely this. Just look at the sky. You will see uh, you are not alone. So, in fact, every humankind, they must know how to enjoy this loneliness. And if you cannot uh, manage your system or manage yourself to stay alone, or staying alone doesn't mean that you are alone. There are people around you. If you think that you cannot live alone without anyone, uh, then uh, you are not liberated. Rather, you are dependent on somebody. But why you will give up your freedom to others? So you must be uh, knowing how to lead your life alone. Number one, number two, that I told you that you are not alone. If you are open minded, uh, if you can open your eyes and ears and open your horizon, you will find that there are many things around you. If you talk about me, I find everything. If I go to the nature, you see there are hundreds of these insect, birds, these, that, each and every moment, and you will be surprised. And during each season also, but you are just walking in the forest, all on a sudden you are finding fragrance of new types of flowers. You also got you'll be surprised. It happened to me many times. Now uh, you see, uh, uh, if uh, there are things, animate, inanimate, or these things are there to give you company or nourish you and make you cheerful. So give up this. Must tell you that this is one kind of fashion that you are suffering from loneliness. If you tell that you are suffering from this, then you are, disclosing your inability and inefficiency to manage yourself. So if anyone suffers from loneliness, I would love to conduct an interactive session with them. Okay.
Amazing. Amazing. So what you're basically saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is basically we create first and foremost our our loneliness within our head. That's basically a concept that we create within ourselves in our mind. But the reality is that we are always connected, whether it's with nature or with other people. But I think what's also very important is that, and that's also what you are basically are saying, is that that doesn't mean that it should be a goal that you make yourself independent of people. It just means that you make sure that your thoughts, that you start mastering your mind in order to see the beauty inside, outside, and around you. And so that's an illusion. Loneliness is basically an illusion of thought that you create within yourself, and that's really what you all are saying is really suffering. Suffering is self-inflicted, right? And so therefore it's always up to us what we focus on. Do we focus on the plentiness, on the beauty of life, or on the negative aspects? The meaning that we are giving to, right? We have to meaning, we are meaning seeker and meaning maker all the time. And lastly, again, what we are going to do about it, you know. And the last point I just want to make is that it's very important to also recognize that we are built to be in a family and to have close people around us, right? Because that allows us to actually further our species as well.
Now, this another thing. I'll not elaborate all this ethical living. Uh, Ethical living means you need to lead your life ethical way. Honesty, integrity, compassion, and respect for all living beings. This has to be there. If you do not live ethical life, then you definitely you will not have harmony. Because unethical life, if you lead unethical life, that means you are doing many unethical things, and that is not going to give you pleasure or peace. So, uh, unethical life definitely destroys the balance in you, and also cause these are plain and simple. If anybody knows what is ethical life, what is unethical life, or unethical living, and uh, you know, uh, you can ask anyone having minimum understanding, they understand that definitely it is no way going to helping you to uh, be at be at peace or in harmony. So you see, if you tell one lie, then you need to tell another 10 lies to cover it up. So if you lead, I don't want to elaborate any more about this. We all must live ethical life. Okay, we must not cheat. We must be honest, uh, uh, and also respect for all living beings. If you do not cheat, if you do not lie, then I think uh, uh, Socrates said that that never act unjustly. Okay, so that he was in a cave. You know that cave name is Philopappus Cave. It is. I visited that in Athens, behind near the Athens Agora. So, there was he was kept in a cave uh, because he was sentenced to death by drinking hemlock poison. So then this authority, they decided that Socrates should fled away. So they told the guard that tell Socrates he can fled away, but we will not catch him. So that guard told him that you can fled away, I will not catch you. You see, the Socrates, Socrates is Socrates because of that. He knows that the as a normal human being, your life is the topmost assets of yourself, and that right at that moment he didn't you know uh, uh, did anything immoral act. He said they have given this verdict, so I must accept it. And ethical living, and you must have that kind of moral courage and moral strength. And but that's why this ethical living is because if you have that kind of, you see, Socrates, he is at peace with him. He has the clarity of perception about this ethics and other things. So he he was never afraid of dying, taking this poison. So that is the classic example that how one should lead ethical life, even in the face of death. You must not alter from that. Okay.
And that's precisely what it means to live a harmonious life. That's what harmony is, because Socrates, he was in harmony within yourself and the world, because he knew that everything is perfect, everything is harmony. Therefore, I don't have to fear anything. That's why also he lost the fear of death, because he knew that death is part of this harmony, that everything has a cycle, right? It's like waking up in the morning. It's really hard, right? And then you get an uptick in energy and it goes down again. So it's a cycle. It's like history at the macro level, right? So there is like emergence of empowers, then there's a stalling, and then there's a decline. And we can observe these patterns in nature, in societies, in civilizations, and really in the universe. And therefore, I think it's so powerful. So that is really brilliant, Dr. Hossain. So now I ask you, what is one actionable step that you recommend start doing for all our listeners in order for them to
Okay, just
foster more harmony within?
yeah. Just I'm coming for this action. Just let me uh, hurriedly summing up another. I'll not explain those. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is another aspect uh, for achieving harmony. This is the quality of divine. To forgive is very difficult. Uh, if you can attain this quality, automatically you will be in harmony, in synchronization with everything. Since we are running short of time, that's why I'm not explaining. Then another one is charity. Charity means giving. Okay.
I just quickly come back to forgiveness, because this is a very interesting concept. Ellen Langer, she was the first tenured female professor at Harvard psychology department. So she was saying this: people always think forgiveness is something divine, but in fact, forgiveness, according to her, and I want to know your taste, forgiveness, the precondition for forgiving someone is, first and foremost, you have to actually blame the person, right? And so therefore she's basically saying, well, forgiveness is not that divine, actually. Well, what do you make of that?
Forgiveness is definitely divine because I will come to that point. Two great men met. That is Nelson Mandela and APJ Abdul Kalam. Okay. Nelson Mandela, he was prisoned 27 years. Okay. So, I also visited the Robben Island and also spent some time on that cell. And with the prison guard of that time, they used to conduct the visit. And I also visited his house. So, Nelson Mandela, he, rebuilding the country, he gave four principles: peace, hope, reconciliation, and forgiveness. Okay. So, now forgiveness, then he said, APJ Abdul Kalam asked him, that you were tortured so for 27 years, you lived this life. Then how could you adopt these four uh, pillars of your policy: peace, hope, reconciliation, and forgiveness? And he said that that violence breeds violence. Okay, so if you and there are two dimension is always there. If uh, uh, he that's why he said that if other than reconciliation or forgiveness, if he used to take again this violent these measures, then it would go on. That's why, and this is why people call it divine. Because uh, you ask yourself. I told you earlier that violence in thought and action. Now, this violence in action is if you box someone, it is gone. But you see, you carry this violence thought in you just to take revenge. That's why it is very difficult to forgive anyone. Even someone has uttered any slightest bad word about you, you remember throughout your life. So that's why, if you cannot forgive, if you carry this thing, ultimately you are also harming yourself. You are also using your energy and losing your energy. So that's uh, why it is people are telling that it is forgiveness is the quality of divine, because it is really very tough. If you want to forgive someone, you need to be the God. Or if you need to attain this quality of the divine, until unless you cannot forgive anyone. That's why people use this analogy that forgiveness is the divine quality. Okay.
I agree. Now I fully agree. There's just also different perspective on that, and I think this is very interesting. And I want to know what you think of it. Rene Girard,
Then
he was at Stanford. I was just quickly picking up on violence and what you were saying, that you have to break the chain of violence, right? Because otherwise it's an eye for an eye, a teeth for a teeth, and it's a spiral, right? Which ultimately means that we can eradicate humanity, because if if revenge goes back and forth constantly, what ultimately is happening is that at the end there's no one to kill anymore. And that's why primitive societies in the past, they always married outside of their tribes. Why? Because if you have two people, let's say two guys within a small village, who desire the same woman, this could mean that the small village could become jeopardized. Why? Because they enter in a conflict and it could end badly. And then, if you apply the mechanism of an eye for an eye or revenge, this ultimately you end up in a spiral of violence. And therefore, all tribes, you still see this actually in Africa to some extent, that they always marry a woman from another tribe in order to avoid this mimetic desire. So the basic argument is Violence and the Sacred by Rene Girard, for example, because what he proposed is that the very basis, the very core of any culture develop in the first place, it had to be sacrificial in the sense of a religion, because they were able to mediate this mimetic desire, that we basically desire the same thing ultimately what others desire. You see this, for example, in play and in children. If you look, and that's also Piaget actually who found this out, when two boys are playing, for example, with the same toys, both have a basketball. One is 8 years old, the other is 5 years old. Ultimately, the 5 years old, at some point, he starts to wanting the basketball that his brother, the 8-year-old, is playing. Why? Because 8-year-old is like playing very happily, right? He has this projection. And the other one now desires the same ball, not because of the basketball specifically, but because of the projected desire of the 8 years old. And you see this all the time. I see this all the time, what happens especially in children's, because there the mimetic desire, the mechanism is still very much alive, because there's not yet this rational thought, that the reason that plays in, right? You can see the same thing when it comes to the animal kingdom, right? So what does to have the gazelle do when the mother gives birth to a baby? The baby has to start imitating immediately the mother calf, because if it doesn't imitate it, right, it means that it won't actually get up, and therefore the lions can actually eat it. And so this is just another whole other discussion, but I just want to present the very, very one and only Dr. Carlos Ronil. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's such a great honor, and I want to tell anyone, really everyone here on the show, that he is an outstanding intellectual. He has lived basically on any planet, not any planet, any continent. He grew up in Colombia, then did his studies in the United States of America, and ultimately he did his doctorate at the University of Toronto. And right now he is actually in Singapore, being a ambassador, right, for alumni organization of the University of Toronto. So that's pretty recent.
Thank you for your kind words. I came here. It's gonna be 8 months soon, and I'm working with the University of Toronto on the partnerships and relationships department, because there's a lot of institutions here in Southeast Asia that are interested in working with North American universities and developing links, and more driven by exchanges of ideas than the old paradigm of collaboration and sort of north-south. It's more like demand-driven now. So there's a demand for specific fields. My field is education, so there's a high level of interest here in general in Southeast Asia for everything that is related to learning, to quality of education, because they have covered the bases pretty much now. So now they're at a stage where they want to improve on those bases, and they just don't want to do the minimum. They rather want to go for achieving the highest potential. So Singapore, of course, is a case in point of that. Those kinds of reforms that have been driving this country for the last, say 40 years, and now you're seeing the results of that strategic thinking across all these decades, and after all these investments and all this infrastructure development, they have achieved a really impressive level of development. But so have also the countries that are neighboring, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam. These are countries that are also developing rapidly, and their economies are transforming now, in large part driven to their market imperatives that are now more looking towards Japan and China than towards other markets, which were traditionally the US and Europe. So there are all these transformations that are happening here. And when you talk about the issue of harmony, as you know, here in Southeast Asia, harmony means something pretty different than what it means to us in Western societies. And they don't see any conflict with the idea of really pushing themselves to their maximum potential, while at the same time striving to develop some kind of inner peace. So their philosophical conception of harmony is one that really does not separate personal prosperity or personal development from personal peace. So that's kind of a unique feature here in this region. And if you want to be successful here in establishing partnerships, you have to understand that their work ethic is really rooted on their desire to achieve harmony through achieving something concretely, not not seeing harmony as an abstract concept, but rather as the result of your efforts as an individual. And then, because you're part of collective societies that really value tradition, me as an individual have to really be in step with what other generations in my society are also looking for. So it is an interesting dynamic here that we're witnessing, and it is transforming the region. And because of the very, very large amounts of population here and the very large economies, it's really pushing the world into what I think it's a new paradigm where a number of countries of Africa and South America are really looking much more towards Southeast Asia than what they used to, and establishing really linkages that are much more substantive.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And in other words,
Yeah.
it really, harmony within doesn't really conflict with harmony within society. In other words, what you are basically alluding to is that the better the more successful I personally become, so does my society as a consequence, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's really what's driving it. That's what I understand. So I just want to bring Dr. Hossain to the equation and just basically finish with what you have started, how to really take actionable steps to
I
develop
have
harmony within.
I have 2 to 3 points. Just quickly, I will sum up. I will not elaborate. Before that, welcome, Mr. Carlos Ruano. Okay, so welcome. We will be in touch, and definitely we are glad to see you. And regarding violence, the explanation you gave, this is okay, but there are different explanation about this. We will talk later on. In fact, violence is in our DNA. It is in our memory. Okay,
100%.
so there are. I have a different explanation of it. I'm not going on that now. Charity. You must uh, give charity. In all the cultures, all the religions. Uh, they have just given so much importance of this aspect. Then I had been asking myself, why this charity? I'm a Muslim, so I was reading Quran, and there I find that everywhere it is. We have a system of giving obligatory charity, that is zakat. But beside that, charity, 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 charity. Ramayana also tells us about charity. All religion they are talking about that. Then, I came to know about a verse that here it is clearly written that you will not attain the righteousness until and unless you give the charity from the possession you love. Remember this thing. You give charity from the possession you love, not that you have used cloth you are giving it. This is not real charity. Okay. The thing is that he said that you must give charity from the possession you love. So you see, we feel even giving little amount of money as a charity, we we many of us feel pain. So that's why this charity has a immense power of giving, and it gives you so much joy, bliss, and ecstasy. Try it. It will be in harmony. Then another aspect, I will just go in short. That is power of acceptance. As I told you, you see the river. River is flowing because I always give example from the natural phenomena. It is just going zigzag. So life is also like that, and don't consider that life is a race. So, but this is a journey, and definitely there will be. If you see in the sky, it is changing. If you see in the waves, there are ups and downs. It will be there. But if you must inculcate this power of acceptance, accept everything as it is, because if you accept the situation, then it becomes a uh, and face the situation with clarity of perception, uh, definitely it becomes a powerful guide. Because if you accept the situation as it is, then you will not have any anxiety, fear, uh, uh, and also grief. And you can face the situation by generating grace. So I'm going
Just
even
let's just quickly take this apart. Carlos Ruana, please jump in. Dr. Ruana, please add what is your take on that, so we can really engage, with
yeah,
one another about acceptance. It's really important because I like acceptance because it's also the foundation of psychotherapy, right? Rogers talked about that, but also John. It's actually crucial. It's not just for your own transformation, but also for basically the transformation of the patient, right? So, Carlos, what's your take on the importance of acceptance in terms of bringing harmony within a individual to the fore?
At a global level, I think that we're at an age where the old order, the old system with all its assumptions regarding personal self-worth and definitions of success is sort of falling apart. It's or sort of ending, but the new value system that will replace it is not yet born. So we're in that kind of liminality. That's how I see it here in Southeast Asia. People really see this moment as a transitional phase, and what happens in a lot, most people are not sure what would come to replace what used to be the post 1945 global relations system. All they know is that there will be a multipolarity, that will different parts of the world will have something to say about it. And in that sense, the sense of what is personal fulfilling and what is our place of love, it's also changing because uh, our relationship to foundational systems, belief systems, like including religious practice and spiritual practice, it's also sort of evolving now because people are understanding that their society's success really mirrors, in some ways, the desire to carve out an independent pathway. And when they find that sort of independence, then they achieve that sense of self worth. So it's a bit of a personal liberation, if you like. It's no longer in the old days where, the promise was you change your society and things will crumble, blah, blah, blah. Nowadays, you see around here, I mean, the region, it's powered by each person where they have that, what I call the TikTok sense of self, meaning that they create a sense of values that they carry with themselves like a toolbox, not always realizing that there's deep roots to what they're doing, but being aware that the sort of the traces that they're leaving across the world in electronic terms are also the traces that their society left in them. And so they're branded by their societies, but they don't know what to do with their legacies. And you see it like, here in a lot of young kids are really embracing mythology, and they're using manga and they're using other means of artistic expression to embrace all mythologies. But of course, it's renamed and rebranded to fit the sort of the TikTok paradigm. But in fact, this has all roots. But what people don't want to be burdened with is the legacy of hatred and the legacy uh, you know of war and the legacy of pain, especially in these countries that have so much of it. They want to embrace the tradition, but without all the heart that also tradition carries with it. So in that sense, they're sort of creating mini capsules of what it is to be unique, and in trying to assert that uniqueness, they go to sometimes extreme cases to prove that sense that they have their own right to exist, regardless of what was expected of them. So it's a bit of a trick situation here. It's kind of people are no longer necessarily looking at certain truths that were strong, because they see that in those truths there's also a lot of pain, and so they want to find out if they can do away with that part and look towards the future. Of course, that's not possible, but that's part of growing up. Young people need to understand that and engage with that legacy that is very confusing and painful because they can't really ask their grandparents what were they doing in the 50s and 40s because they might not like what they hear in the way of answer. So because of that interaction now, things that used to be very respected are being questioned, but not necessarily because people want to get rid of them, but because people are tired of just accepting the assumptions. So they look at Christianity, for instance, in a different way. They look at it as a doorway to learn about themselves, about their spirituality in a different way. Not because it's Western, but because it has a different perspective. So it's a different kind of embrace, if you like, of that tradition, and then you see that reaching out towards that source of knowledge and a source of values, understanding that it doesn't come from this environment and it doesn't have all the answers, but it certainly provides a way of being that is different and that allows them to contrast with the ways in which they were expected to grow and they were expected to evolve. So I think it's kind of we're really in the middle of a transformation, and we just don't have the language to describe yet what's happening, especially when it comes to young people. And they are trying to come up with some terminologies when they speak amongst themselves, but we're not there yet. So we're a bit we're trying to navigate all these contradictions. But I agree that that this place of this notion of charity and the notion of love really it's also evolving now, and it means embracing things in a different way, and it also means that people have to risk a bit more of themselves, that they can no longer stay in their specific area, but they have to actually engage and go out and risk being rejected and risk being separated, but they know that the rewards also can be great from that reaching out.
And I think we go back to the fundamental question of, again, of humanity. Where do we come from? What's our purpose? And where are we heading to? And we can only do this by really looking at the past, our very roots. And I think what's happening now, even in the Western world, is to really re-questioning deeply that these things that have been hidden all the time, because enlightenment really brought to the fore something that ultimately made our unconscious, basically we avoided what's really underneath, and we only paid attention to the conscious in terms of Jung, right? We completely buried the collective unconscious, okay? Which is really the past. Everything there is based on the memory of the history, right? In Western terms, it's especially Judeo-Christian, but also Islam, obviously, right? And so that's somehow a reawakening of living more on the conscious level all the time, and everything is empirical, everything can be understood through science and scientific methods, whereas we kind of stalled and realized that actually we can't understand everything and make sense of everything without just applying the conscious. Rather, we always also have to bring in alignment our unconscious in order to become again whole, in psychological terms. And I think that's to some extent what's happening, right? And people are curious because people feel intrinsically, in my view, and that's what the Abrahamic relations really show, that there is something, there is truth, it's important, and it's worthwhile seeking the truth, right? And it's a process, it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, in this country, for instance, I mean, literally, the place where I live 40 years ago was a rice paddy. There was nothing here. There were cows, rice, and now they have these huge buildings, has all these ultra modern highways, subways, airports, you name it. And so they went literally from being half-starved societies to now really living in some ways even beyond anything we see in North America, because their railroads, their roads, their systems of healthcare, and so on, or education, are more advanced than ours, and so that jump had huge consequences for them, because they part of it is that they were forced to leave behind a number of sources of connectedness, like you said, to embrace what it is now, the future. And so the young people don't have any anchors like the grandparents had or their parents had. And they have to respond to both sets of expectations. What is historical, what is the collective, and now what is the individual, what is expected of them. What's their place in this new world? And so they're facing a crisis that we didn't, at least people my age didn't. And I'm not sure, to be honest, that they have the tools to face it with.
It's so interesting. So I want to really bring Dr. Hossain to the equation and really wrap it up with the closing
Okay, another
remarks of Dr. Harman. But I just want to quickly say to you, to Carlo Ruano, that what happened too is the culture couldn't, because a culture takes time to adjust to new circumstances, right? And that's also partly what happened to indigenous people, right? All of a sudden, they had to adjust, within a couple of decades, and a culture needs time to adjust, right? And so that's partly what the Singaporeans go through. So it's super fascinating. So please, I'm so sorry, Carlos. Just let's go back to Dr. Hossain, and I really let you uh, close.
okay, just another 2 points. Then, uh, you know, we must show gratitude in every situation, because but gratitude is a very strong tools for achieving harmony. For even small things, you must pay your gratitude. Uh, you must practice this. There will be a lot of ups and downs or any situation. Always you must thank people. You must show respect for any small help or anything. And that this is a very strong tools to crush your ego. Okay. So I'm not going to elaborate on this. Now I'm coming to just last point. Then I will go for you told me about this actionable uh, points that I will discuss. You know, to me, last point is that you should uh, you know create a build a rock solid inner core, like creating a shield around you. And why I'm telling this, because if you can do this, then you see, and the basis of this is also the you need to have the clarity of perception. Okay, and just in layman language, you see that if you see the frog in a small pond, or this allegory of cave by Plato, people are in cave, they are seeing their shadows only. They know that probably this is the reality. But a frog in the small pond, he or she knows that this is the reality, this is the world. But once it comes out from the small pond and he or she sees the sea, then things becomes totally different for them. It is people are just like this. Before the discovery of black swan, people never believed that black swan in Australia, people can swan can be black, because everybody knew that swan is the white. So this is a black swan movement also. That means you must have the clarity of perception. And another thing that that all birds during the rain, they go to the shelter, but eagle, they climb up to the cloud so that there is no rain. So, you need to adopt these strategy to build this inner core. And here, Lev Tolstoy, he said that man can live without everything but God. He said man cannot live without God. So, spiritually, all culture, all religion, it says that God is closer to you. Carlos said he's a Christian. I've seen comparative study of religion, all religion, they said that God is closer to you than your breathing. Okay. So, this is constant to the all cultures and all religion also. But you see, have we ever tried to talk to God? I I don't think that it is so close. That's why, Socrates said, know thyself, and everybody said, look inward. If you look inward, by looking inward, uh, then I told you earlier that your machine is the mini cosmos. You'll find everything here. So build your this inner self, just like build a rock solid inner core, and with shield around you, then you and definitely with this is I told you with clarity of perceptions. So you'll see that there will be a lot of these ups and downs, because this is part of the nature. Nothing can distract you. You can take the appropriate decision, and you can go through with all types of turmoil. So, but these are all about the discussion now. Uh, you know, you told me to give about 24 hours cycle. You know what I do? In fact, it is my own learning. So, it varies culture to culture. In Western culture, they take early dinner and go to the bed, and it was the same culture in this eastern part also. People used to take food before sunset. Then after certain activities, they used to go to the sleep. And in all cultures, I tell you again, I repeat it, all culture, all religion, people get up at 3 and starts their first activities, at 3:30. In fact, 3:30 sun starts giving the light. So it is called the Brahma Muhurta. But that time there is once it starts giving the light, then there is upsurge of energy. So before that, I tell you that as I started that if you have the scope of taking dinner before sunset, take the dinner, then go to the bed uh, by 8, 9. Then before going to the bed, you check the balance sheet. Uh, wha- Whatever you have done today, because once you will get up, definitely you will get up. Your first action should be the you must pay respect to the God or Creator. Okay, because uh, I was in a hurry. That's why I said that I don't believe in atheists. Nobody is atheist. Okay, everybody, even if someone is telling that he's atheist, but he has some belief system. Okay, so he may not believe in organized religion, but he believes in some power. So you must pay first pay gratitude or pay respect to or thank to the God that you are alive, because overnight 1 million people dies during sleep. So you are not one of them. So smile and pay tribute to the Creator or God of um, whatever you say. Then you start, as you know, he was also, Mr. Carlos was also talking about sense of purpose, and Mr. Yannick is also very much about this word, that sense of purpose of your life. I believe that my sense of purpose of life is to do something good to this planet Earth and help the people. So in morning, once I get up, this is my resolve that I will do something good to the planet Earth, because in the name of development or this advancement, we are destroying the planet. We are not building anything. Okay, we are destroying the nature, destroying the planet. So do something uh, good to this planet Earth and also help people. This is then first thing after that. Once you, I first do some yoga. Okay, and yoga is nothing but the aligning with the cosmic forces. Okay, and yoga is not the aerobics. Western country, there are a lot of, I have seen the video. Those are aerobics. Aerobics and yoga is totally different. I do maybe half an hour or 40 minutes. Then little bit of meditation and uh, please, yeah, I have given you one video. Can you play it here? You know, you see,
Yeah, we will add it on the
you
podcast
see,
when we actually are doing
I
it.
was traveling in Nepal for trekking.
Hmm.
I was staying in a hotel that is Annapurna Resort in Pokhara. There, a cleaner taught me this thing. Okay, you see, because my first point of observation was I find that those area people are very inward looking, calm, quiet, and peaceful. So you see, I learned this from a cleaner of a hotel. So you cannot, discriminate anybody. You can learn from uh, anyone. Okay, so out of his wisdom and his knowledge, he taught me this thing. Once I got up early in the morning, then he taught me this meditation with a meditation bowl or singing bowl. Uh, please add that. And he told me, hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Then he told me that every day you must keep at minimum 10 minutes time for you, where uh, uh, there will not be any space for your kids, your wife, or anything. That should be in between you and your creator. So I think that really works. That's why uh, I told you that yeah, if you those are very simple technique, and it is nothing but controlling the breath and just pointing, thinking one pointed, and it really I do it in the morning and also going to the bed. Okay.
Amazing. We see it here. Can you
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
it? We
I
will
cannot.
we will integrate it in the video. So that is
Oh,
amazing. So let's try to wrap it up now. I
oh,
just want to
okay.
ask Dr. Ruana for his closing remarks. He will continue with this discussion. I think it's extremely helpful, but I think we have to now cut it short. So last closing words of Dr. Ruana.
Well, thank you for inviting me, first of all, and to have the pleasure of talking with you both. And I think it's a wide ranging discussion. I come more from the perspective of cross cultural psychology and thinking that international development nowadays is it's more about mental health than other kinds of issues, and that as we're seeing from the crisis and wars in various parts of the world, there's generations that have been affected in many ways due to all this ongoing conflicts, and they will be our legacy. They will be part of what we will have to be dealing with in the years and decades to come. And the tools that we need to provide them, I think some of them have already exist, and there are some approaches that we trying and they're true to, especially with that the ones that have been trying with child soldiers and other people that have been exploited. But there are other tools that have yet to be invented, and for those, I think that's what we need more thinking and more research to find those ways to perhaps relate the ancient ways with the new ways to address this new kind of problems that are now starting to appear.
Thank you so much,
No,
Dr.
no,
Carlos
I want
Ruano.
to tell something to Mr. Carlos Ruano, because whatever we are doing, this is nothing but related with the mental health. Nowadays, we need to work on this aspect, this mental health, because because of this technological advancement and this that this is really very important. So whatever we are doing, this is totally related with the mental health aspect. So we can, if you have any issues or anything, we can discuss. But for these, there are very, we should adopt very, simple methods. If it is, there are for curing everything, nature is the best place to, cure this type of mental health related disease. Or we can discuss if there is any and how it acts, and this is a complete lifestyle. If anyone follows, then at least if anyone has the minimum practice, they will do better in their life. Okay. So,
It's so
Mr.
true.
Yannick, should I continue or
Well,
are
I
you?
think we cut it short now. That's okay. Basically just, one tangible step, and you gave us already so many tangible steps to actually start implementing it, right? In
I
order
have
for
told
you
you
to
that
really
this
start.
exercise of sun gazing, this classical music,
Yeah.
and also when you should take breakfast, everything, because 24-hour cycles I have not given you. I need
No,
another
no, of
5.
course, but we will follow up with that,
Okay.
because ultimately people can get the program also on demand, and there you lay up really this step
Because
by step. Okay.
tell you people that I would recommend sun gazing. Okay, sun is the cure of everything. It drives all bad qualities, all calamities. Okay, I am a sun gazer. I practice it. I take sunset water. So it really is. It can cure many things, many ailments. That is for sure. Okay.
Thank you so much. So I just come back what you both have said, charity, but also in terms of being grateful. And I'm so grateful that you, Dr. Carlos Ruana, and you, Dr. Moazzem Hossain, are truly a gift for myself and really to the world of being such an incredible blessing. And I can't wait to really keep doing this healthy conversation with you, and hopefully we can make an impact for the world in a positive sense. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you so much,
Dr.
Yannick.
Carlos Ruano and Dr.
Thanks
Moazzem.
for inviting us.
Dr.
Thank you all.
Carlos Ruano and Dr. Moazzem Hossain.
Good night, you all.
Thank you.
That's why knowledge matters. Make your life a masterpiece. Visit now programs.d-ykm.com. Meant to make you grow.